Namaskar. Welcome back to our course on cost and management accounting. In our first session, we will discuss about what is cost accounting. There are three steps involved: ascertainment of cost, where we will record the cost in details. Then we will go for analysis of cost. So the total cost is broken down on variety of basis to get the details, and then the cost breakup or that analysis is used for preparation of cost statements, which helps is in cost control. They also help in taking variety of decisions like make or buy decision or like outsource or not type of decisions. This is broadly the cost accounting this is the particularly the decision making part of it is particularly for the use of management. That's why we have got an umbrella concept known as management accounting. In this course, our focus is going to be on cost and management accounting, mainly on the techniques which are used for decision making. We also discussed what is cost, and then we went into classification of cost. So let us start with the cost. I think everyone had some cost incur always. So there is no need of any directions. Any activity that we do, we have to pay for it. We have to incur expenses. Sometimes we have to sacrifice our time, or we have to give up an opportunity, or this is add together and is called as a cost. Now the classification. This is the classification is very important because it leads us to variety of concepts within cost and management accounting and a few of the techniques to control those costs. This classification is used by as for providing the information for decision making. Now the first classification is by elements, which we have already discussed. So you remember now what are the elements of cost? I think most of you know. First one is material, next is labor, and third is expenses. It is the oldest form of classifying. So all tangible cost items related costs are including material, human related costs are classified into labor, and services purchase related costs are expenses. Now this is a very basic classification from where we have involves, and we go for a further classification as for the function. So import business functions like production, administration, selling and distribution, research and development. The business is normally divided in units as per the functions. So the cost is also classified as per the function like production cost, administration cost, marketing cost, and so then there is another way of classifying the cost. That's why direct and indirect. Do you remember what is direct cost? This is very important for cost control viewpoint. I think you are remembering direct cost are those costs which can be attributed to a particular cost center or a product. Please not remember anything, at least keep this example of fruits pluck in mind. That cost us fruit going into production of fruit pluck. you can identify it. You know that raw material like mangoes are purchased of and you are making mango juice. So the mangoes purchased will be directly charged to production of mango juice. But all cost cannot be directly charged. Remembering, cost which cannot be charged directly are considered as indirect cost. Suppose we have two fruit fluff marketing units. We have got four types of fruits and we make four types of fluffs. So any fruits purchased we charge to these four units. Apart from that, what are other costs which are indirect in nature. Suppose we for our factory which has these four units, we pay common rent. Rent will not be for just for one unit. It is the total rent for all the four types of fluff units. So it is going to be an indirect cost. Same way, security, insurance, electricity, maintenance, these are typical examples of indirect cost. What about manpower cost? Is it direct or indirect? Suppose there are employees who work on a specific fluff making unit. Let us say there are these employees who are only working in mango unit. Then their cost that this is specifically identical to mango fluff making. Then that will be considered as a direct cost. But the cost of the supervisors who are supervising all the four units, it will be an indirect cost. Cost of production manager, indirect cost. Cost of helper who help in moving item from here to there but not identifiable to any one unit. Then that will be an indirect cost. Like that, whether it is material or labor or overheads, those costs now are being classified as per directness. It then can be identified exclusively. It is possible to them easily to a cost center or a product. We will call it was a direct cost, and those which cannot be related very easily like rent or like electricity, that would be considered as indirect cost. Now we need to charge this indirect cost also. Direct cost we can easily charge, but indirect cost we cannot charge directly. That's why they normally and rate per unit is calculated or a composite rate is calculated. Technically, we call them as absorption rate. So, we take total of indirect costs. Suppose we divided it by number of hours, we will get rate per hour. But this is a very basic method. There are advanced methods like activity based costing. So, this is how indirect costs are charged to products or to cost centers. There is another way of classifying, that is classification based on controllability. Now, controllable costs are those costs which can be influenced by the action of a specific person. So, if you have got a factory manager who can decide to take purchase or not purchase certain categories of mangoes, has the authority to decide certain day-to-day actions. Then those costs which can be attributed to his her decisions would be the controllable cost. For that level, will the rent be a controllable cost? Mostly no, because the decision of rent would have been taken already by higher levels. The decision on wage rate might have been taken by higher levels. Then those costs will be considered as non-controllable cost. Now this particular classification is not very short. It will go on charging as per level of activity, like say supervisor of a particular unit may have certain decisions. Within his or her power, factory manager may have more decisions. A general manager have more levels of activity, authority to take more decisions. So, for each level of management, the controllable cost changes. Now, the advantages of the classification is when we secret controllable cost, which are controllable within his or decisions. Otherwise, what happen? Every manager will say, I do not have much authority, seniors are taking decisions. Other departments are incurring more expenses. So, I cannot control my expenses. So, out of all those costs, most of the cost is not in my control. So, controllability becomes identification of control becomes difficult. That's why under controllability classification, all costs related to the department or unit are classified into two types, one which are controllable, other which are not controllable, and they too hold that particular reasons responsible only for controllable cost. As the name suggested, this technique is very much useful for cost control purposes. Now, the next classification as for normality. Now, for a certain level of output, certain costs are considered as normal. But if the cost exceed that level, then that will be considered as a abnormal. For example, if you go to petrol pump, they are dealing with the petrol or diesel. Now, these items are meant to be evaporated. So, suppose 50,000 liters of petrol is sold in a day. It is known that 0.3% of that is likely to be evaporated. That is considered as a normal evaporation. So, whoever in charge of sale of petrol, nobody will ask if the losses of petrol is limited to 0.3%. But if actual loss exceeds that, then the person will be questioned whether there was any unbilled sale or something like that. So, any extra loss will be considered as a abnormal loss. Something is true also for goods which are kept in storage. So, for different types of losses, we divided them into normal and abnormal losses. And normal losses are treated differently. They are charged to goods units produced because they are bound to happen. Various is there is a abnormal loss in excess of that normal percentage. We will charge into that particular department or to the manager. We cannot charge it into the customers. Okay. Now the next class type of classification is as for variability. Now here the base of classification is slightly different. The earlier classification which we studied were mainly for cost control purposes. Now classification as for variability is mainly useful for decision making purposes. So how will you classify the cost? The cost will be classified into fixed variable and semi-variable. As the name suggests, variable costs are those costs which change or vary. Here when we say vary, what we are thinking of is variation as per level of output. More the usages or more the production, that cost goes up in a linear proportion. That is called as a variable cost. Examples are direct wages, direct materials. If a vehicle is being operated, normally as for the use in kilometers, the petrol cost would go up, or fuel cost will go up. So that will be considered as a variable cost. As a against, these are certain costs which are known as fixed costs. Fixed costs are those costs which are related to time and they do not change with value or with the level of activity. For example, if you take cost of the car, more the operations and more the running of car, fuel cost will change, it is a variable cost, but the insurance cost is most likely not going to change. Our depreciation cost of the car is not likely to change. Hence, that comes as a fixed cost. Other examples, as you can see here, include rent or property or taxes. This table gives also examples of fixed cost. Now, this table gives the summary classification. So, variable cost is total changes with the level of activity. If you calculate it and for unit basis, they would remain constant and for unit basis. As far as fixed costs are concerned, they are going to be constant at a total. But on for unit basis, they go on reducing for every extra unit because they are common in total. They will go on reducing for more units got it. Now, there are certain costs which are in between. They have some component of variability, some component of fixed. So, that is called as a semi-variable cost. Example is telephone bill. Nowadays, I think most would not even have seen this type of telephones. These are old fixed line telephones. Not like mobile phones which we use now. They used to have a fixed rent and for every call you have to pay extra. That's why it is a variable cost. The rent part is fixed cost. Fixed call charges are variable even today. Even for mobile phones, Normally, there could be a fixed charge and extra of amount. It is increases as per calls. It becomes a variable cost. Of course, if you have got unlimited calling plan, then variable cost is 0. You only have fixed cost. Similarly, for electricity or for maintenance also, there will be a fixed component and variable component. So, total cost will vary but not in the direct proportion. So, it is considered as a semi-variable cost. Now for 2 months let us say July and August. For first month the units are 1000 rupees. For next month it is 2000. Now you can see here costs are given and you have to identify them as fixed, variable or semi-variable. Now the first item is direct material. It will fall in which category? As you can see, the cost of material has increased from 50,000 to 1 lakh. So, it has doubled. Number of units have doubled. The cost has also doubled. That means is an example of variable cost. Direct labor again same 2856. So, it has doubled. It is a variable cost. Rent of the rent factory unchanged. So, it is a fixed cost. Power 35,000, 50,000. It was charged but not in the direct proportion. It has not become 35 and 70. So, it is not variable, neither it is fixed. It is a semi-variable. Maintenance somewhere 7926. So it is a semi-variable cost. Are you getting? This is simple, but this classification is going to be very much useful when we go for variety of decisions. And in coming sessions, we are going to in depth look into those use of this classification. But right now, we will go to the next classification, that is as per the relevance. Now, relevant costs are those future costs which differ between alternatives. So, if you take a particular decision, it charges certain cost in future. Those costs will be called as irrelevant. While sunk costs are the cost in the past irrespective of decision. They cannot change, so we call them as sunk cost. Now, what is an example? Suppose you have developed a product P. For development of the product, you have incurred research and development. Cost of 10 lakhs. Now, the question is, shall we launch the product or not launch? If you launch the product, the cost of manufacture will be 25 lakhs. And we are expecting a revenue of 30 lakhs. I will just respond the figures again. R&D cost is 10 lakhs. Manufacturing cost is 25 lakhs. The revenue likely to be generated is 30 lakhs. Now, shall we launch the product? What is the relevant cost? And what is a sunk cost? I think most of you are getting it. We should launch the product because relevant cost is a manufacturing cost, which is 25 lakhs. We are going to get 30 lakhs from the sale. That means we are making a profit of 5 lakhs. Sunk cost is 10 lakhs which we have incurred on R&D. However, if we does not launch the product, we already make a loss of 10 lakhs. We cannot change or increase or reduce it by this decision. That's why it is a sunk cost. So, R&D is a sunk cost, manufacturing cost, which we are going to incur. We may or may not be incur because of the decision of launching or not launching. That's why this manufacturing cost become a relevant cost. Now, while taking decisions, you should only look at the relevant cost and not look at sunk cost. Are you getting it? So, this classification is very much useful for decision making. It is not very much useful for control purposes. There are different classifications which we have seen earlier, like direct, indirect, or controllable, non-controllable. This is primarily for decision making. There is another variant of this cost that is known as differential cost. So, if you have two alternatives and if you are going to incur any extra expenses by that alternative, then it is called as a differential cost. So, it will take root the cost in 100 rupees. If you go by root by the cost is 120 rupees. So, difference between the two alternatives is 20 rupees. That is a differential cost. This is also useful in decision making. Now, the opportunity cost. Now, opportunity cost is not something which you pay in cash. That is why many people get confused. This is the cost of lost benefit. So, if something is in short cost of in short supply, we choose alternative. If we cannot go for alternative, so the benefit from B is lost. That is the opportunity cost. So, suppose you can either watch the video of this course, that is alternative A. Alternative B is you can watch a movie. So, which one will you choose? You are scholarly students. So, you have chosen to watch this Bring video. So, you have sacrificed watching a movie. That is a opportunity cost of seeing this video. Are you getting me? Maybe you are not paying anything in cash, but your time is limited. At that same time, you could see the videos. You are sacrificing. If that is your opportunity cost of this, suppose you join a college and you are paying a fees of 50,000. If it is a MBA college, maybe 5 lakhs. So, you are paying a fees of 5 lakhs for 2 years. What is the cost of doing MBA in monetary terms? It is 5 lakhs into 5 lakhs into 2 lakhs plus maybe some other expenses of 2 lakhs, so 12 lakhs. But you also have your opportunity cost. If you are doing a job and you are getting a package of say 10 lakhs, then 2 years 10 lakhs you are losing. So 10 into 2 year are losing 20 lakhs. That is the opportunity cost. So cost of doing MBA is opportunity cost of 20 lakhs plus cash cost of 12 lakhs. So total cost of doing MBA is 32 lakhs. Now if you are getting commensurate benefit, you should take a decision to do MBA. Otherwise, maybe you can go for a part-time MBA where your fees is a cost, but you are not losing on your job or you are on your salary. So that is how for making variety of decisions, we need to consider the benefit which you have lost, and that is called as a opportunity cost. Are you getting? Now here is an example that suppose you want to start a business, and if you go for doing it from your own premises, from your own house, maybe we are not paying any rent now. So rent cost are saved, that becomes a opportunity cost for you got it. Now the next one is marginal cost. This is the cost of making one extra unit. Later and we are going to study marginal costing, where this will be very much useful. So for 100 units, if cost is 1000 rupees, if you make 101 unit and the cost is 100, then for 1 unit the extra cost is 5 rupees. That is the marginal cost. Marginal cost of 1 unit. Then there is the average cost. So you take the total cost divided by number of units to get average cost. This is also useful, but mainly for control purposes. Now the last classification is product cost versus period cost. If you calculated of a product, it becomes a product cost. It is inventoriable because you can add it to the inventory. As against this, there are period cost. These are more related to time. For example, rent, for example, salary, it is being incurred for certain time, not much for the number of units. So they are considered as period cost. So today we have discussed important cost classifications starting from elements, that is material, labor, overheads. Then we have seen control related classifications. We have also seen decision making related, like relevant cost or like variable cost or differential cost, etc. Now these classifications are very much useful, and in coming sessions we will be solving certain problems or solving certain cases using this classification. Right now let us the stop here. Namaste.